there are a couple of different ways you could decorate it. If you're going to do it wedding style, if you were going to do polka dots, a lot of times people will put a border around the top of the cake and around the bottom. But if you want to do polka dots on it, I don't recommend a top border. That way you can go all the way down. Or if you're going to do stripes, you can do the same thing. When you border, and we were talking about tricks at the trade earlier, talking with paper towel, that was probably within, what, the last 10 years? Learned. But with your frosting, a lot of people don't like to frost cakes and decorate because they have to clean the frosting out of their bags. We have a way to help you with that. All you need is some frosting and some saran wrap. Now, depending on your grip, how big your hands are, depends on how much frosting you want to put in a bag. Because if you put too much in there, your hands are going to hurt and you won't be able to decorate very well. We're going to tear off a section of saran wrap. And again, how much you put in just comes with practice. We're going to set it towards the top edge of the saran wrap so that you've got a little room to work. We're going to wrap it over and roll it up like you were rolling a piece of candy. So that way when you get done, you have icing in the middle of two tails. I'm going to take the bottom tail and wrap it up, straighten out the top, and then we're going to slide it through your bag, pull the top tail through, cut it off, and decorate. Now, when you go to clean your bags, especially if you have colors, you pull that out, what's left, your bag is clean.
That's just a brilliant trick of the trade.
Everybody who has come through class has said that was worth the price of class. Just because it is so time-consuming to clean up your bags. Now, when you go to put a border on, it's anybody's choice. You want to please your customer as best you can. So, when you go, excuse me just a minute, always best to keep your icing covered so that the air doesn't get to it. Just when we were discussing high sides and low sides, you need to find which side is the front of your cake. So we're going to judge the best side, and I think this is the front of my cake. So I'm going to start my border in the back. And I don't know if you want to come around and look how to do the borders. I don't know. Okay. So I'm going to start. Try to make it as even as possible. Going around. And here we've run out of frosting. So, just like we showed you earlier, we're going to take our used bag out. We're going to slide our new bag through. Cut the tip off. Put our cap and our piping tip back on. And we're going to pick up where we left off.
And again, the bag and the tips, these are all items and supplies that are available at your store.
Yes, sir. They are. And your cake is complete with the bottom border. Now, as I said earlier, depending on what kind of decoration you're going to put on the top, depends on whether or not you put a top border. For today's sake, we are going to go ahead and do that. Some people use a standard shell, just like we've done around the bottom. What I'm going to put on today is what they call a reverse shell. And this is a This is a practiced border. For the longest time, I started helping Mom decorate when I was 15. So I've been decorating for almost 17 years. It's kind of a scary thought. But sometimes it's easy to pick up what you're doing, and sometimes it takes a lot of practice. And we were working on graduation cakes one year, and I had tried and tried and tried to get this border, and all of a sudden it just clicked. And so don't give up. If you start decorating cakes and there's something you just can't do, don't give up. Keep trying. It will eventually come to you. So now you have a border on the top, a border on the side. If you choose to do texture, oftentimes if you're just going to decorate at the top, the texture looks very good around the edge just to give it some depth. Now, if you're going to just write, say, happy birthday, Mom, and do something springy, we're going to put some spring flowers on there. Rose nail. Some people do roses on scissors. I prefer a nail. I'm going to take my frosting. Make a base and work my way up. And you always want to work in odd numbers. 1, 2, 3, and you have a small rose. Now if you want to make it a little bit bigger, your next set is going to be 5 petals. Now the tricky part is getting your pretty creation from here, there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Make sure you have a very sharp knife, or some people use scissors. Okay, I'll show you both ways. Scissors, they take it, they cut it off the nail, they set it on their cake, use the bottom edge of the nail, and it comes off. You have a little more leverage with your scissors. Most of the time, I just use a knife, just because it makes your scissors really messy. Do a yellow rose. Always make sure your tips are clean, because if you start using different colors with different frostings, you can mess your other flowers up. This time I'm going to use the knife. Just take my flower off. Same way as you do with your scissors, just carefully set it down beside. And because 2 roses look incomplete, I'm going to put a 3rd rose on there just to give it some balance. Now we're going to take some green and add the leaves. And there you've just done a very simple but springy cake. And if you needed to write a message on there, like Happy Easter, say, because Easter's coming up on Sunday, we would take a bag of frosting, and then write, and writing on a cake takes practice. Some people print, Some people do cursive. Some people they make message press sets that if you don't write well, you can basically do a typeset of your word, press it in, and then go over it with frosting. And if you want to do something around the sides of your cake, okay, we're going to do some rosebuds. I'm going to do one yellow one in the middle, and I'm going to flank it on either side by 2 pinks. You always want to work in odds when you're doing a bouquet of anything. And it's always best to work with a cake in front of you. Here I'm working to the side so that you at home can see. Add some leaves. And you've turned the side of a fairly plain cake, simple but beautiful, into just a little bit more. And spacing on this, some people, they actually make spacers to use to get equidistant around the edge. Again, it's one of those things that comes with practice. And you always want to work wherever your front is, work from your front and go back. So if this is my center in my front, I'm going to go ahead and do this side, and then I'm going to come back around and work this side so that I make sure my front is equidistant as best as I possibly can. So there you have. I'm going to go ahead and finish around the back.
And the techniques that you're demonstrating this evening, Carrie, are techniques that you teach your students in the cake decorating class.
Yes, sir. That is correct. The rose we start in course 1 because it is the hardest flower. You work on it from course 1 all the way through course 3 because a good rose takes time to make. And they are very difficult. You could ask any of our students about the rose and they will probably just look at you and roll their eyes because, oh man, I hate trying to make the rose. Some people get it right off the bat, and some people it really takes a very long time to get.
Well, Carrie, in addition to the beautiful technique that you're showing, your choice of color and combinations is exquisite.
Well, you need to work seasonally with what you're doing. When you think spring, you think flowers, you think bright, not necessarily bold, bright colors, but if you look at a flower garden, you see a gorgeous array of pinks, purples, yellows, greens for springtime, where when you get into fall, you're going to go more to your golds, your oranges, your burgundies. So you need to work within the color spectrum of what is going on. And sometimes when you do cakes, they take a lot of research because people want some different things. So for one birthday, we were building a 3D rhinoceros and a 3D hippopotamus. That's not just something you can just do. A lot of people do take the time to do a lot of research for what they're going to decorate to make it look as authentic as possible. Now that we have our Easter cake finished, quote unquote, we're going to add the last touch, which is called edible glitter, and give it a little bit of sparkle. And now we have a finished product.
That's beautiful, Carrie. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, before we leave today, we need to finish our strawberry angel food cake. Is that ready to go? Okay. What we're going to do is grab another piece of paper towel here. to take the lid or the top back off of our angel food cake. Now that our Jell-O is mostly set, well, kind of set, we're going to break up our angel food cake that we took out, put it back in to the Jell-O. Stir it up, and then we're going to add our fresh cut strawberries. You can use frozen if they're not in season. But make sure that if you do use frozen, you've drained a lot of the liquid off. We're going to take some fresh cut strawberries, and we're going to add to our Jell-O mixture. This Jell-O's not quite as set as you would like, but you don't want it really runny. We're going to take it and we're going to spoon it into the well that we dug out. And if you get a little bit of strawberries and Jell-O on the inner ring, it's okay. It's going to be covered. Go ahead and fill that trough good and full. If your Jell-O is too runny, it will run out of the bottom of your angel food cake all over your plate or your board. Do be careful with that. And when you make this dessert, you want to make it anywhere from about 4 hours to overnight before you serve it, so that the Jell-O has plenty of time to set. Because when you serve it to your guests, they're going to think they're just going to get an angel food cake covered with whipped cream, but little do they know the surprise that will be hiding inside. Okay, we've filled our trough. We're going to put our lid, our top, back on our angel food cake. And then you can use Cool Whip or whipped cream. If you're making this for somebody who's diabetic, maybe they can't have regular Cool Whip. Heavy whipping cream with a little bit of vanilla and maybe some Splenda would do just the same thing. Grab my knife over there. Again, make sure you get rid of your crumbs, or if you get a little bit of Jell-O on the side. And just like you're frosting your regular cake, go ahead and start putting the whipped cream on. Now, with a whipped frosting, you're not going to be able to get the super smooth that you will with a buttercream frosting. It's just not going to happen. You can get it as smooth as possible. Again, if you want to use the decorating comb to give it some groove, you can do that as well. But you won't be able to use the paper towel method on your whipped frosting. Now, I'm putting it on fairly smooth for the moment, but we are going to fluff this frosting out. I like to put it on smooth to make sure I get an even coat before I start fluffing my frosting. When you cut up your strawberries, you want to save a few for garnish on the top. And on the top, if you have excess going down the middle, that's okay. Just take it, kind of seal it in down the core of your angel food cake. Now, in lieu of making it smooth, we're going to take it and we're just going to fluff it out. Give your cake a little bit of pizzazz. And if you get to a spot where you see it's too thin, go ahead and take a little bit of that extra Cool Whip or whatever you're using to frost it with. Put on your knife. If you choose, you can add a bottom border to this cake just like we did to our other cake. Or if you just want to leave it styling, you can do that as well. Now, for the top, we are going to garnish with fresh strawberries. Pick out some of your nicest strawberries that you have and put about 5 or 6 slices in without going all the way to the green, so that when you cut it, it's still some attachment there at the top. Fan it out and you can garnish the top of your cake. Sugar-free Jell-O works just as well as the regular Jell-O does, and you have a dessert that is nice and light and spring and summery.
And you have a very nice looking cake to present to your dinner guests.
Yes, you do. A very nice looking cake to present to your dinner guest. Now, once you get this done, stick it back in the refrigerator for about, like I said, 4 hours to overnight. And when you get done, or get ready to serve your cake, pulling a Julia Child here. When you go to cut it, use a serrated knife once again. And as you go to serve, they have a strawberry surprise on the inside.
That is a surprise.
And it is quite tasty. We will let you taste some of this before you go today.
Thanks, Carrie. It's been really a fascinating view of how to put a beautiful cake together. We all learned a lot this evening. Thank you.
You are very much welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, like at Christmas time, we do 1,600 dozen cookies, and we just have the 2 ovens here.
Just the 2 ovens, yeah. Very
And we do,
basic ovens.
this is all of our Easter orders that we've got. So, I mean, we keep busy. We keep very busy.
What time do you get to the shop in the morning?
Well, it all depends. There's some mornings I'm here at 3 o'clock in the morning. Because a lot of gentlemen like to take rolls to work with them.
Yes.
So I get up and I make them fresh that morning for them to come by, pick them up, and take them to work with.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I've done that for several years.
Talk about dedicated.
Right. And Carrie,
I'm not that nice.
I just had carpal tunnel surgery.
Oh no.
So she's been doing my rolls, so she makes them the day before, and then I still come and make them that morning. So they're fresh when they come.
Oh, thanks. Oh,
You're welcome.
yeah. Beautiful cake.
And
Yes. I'll grab your chair.
we have all the supplies, everything that people need.
Wow. I just know that I think maybe there's not a lot of bakers in it because it's too hard.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like you say, it's a dedication.